This is a journey connecting the music with the people that inspire us. You're listening to the Sounds of Success podcast with your host, Jim Lombardo. Brought to you by the Rising Tide Foundation. Let's jump right in.
I'm excited to get started. Recording with us today is Ryan Woodruff. Ryan, welcome to the studio.
I'm grateful to be here. Thank you very much.
You are a Marine Corps veteran. You did 2 tours in Iraq, and you are now the CEO of ClearPath for Veterans. Ryan, you've been involved with ClearPath since 2016, when you were both not only a client, but a peer educator. Well, before we do, I want to thank you for your service, first and foremost. No question about it.
My pleasure. I was grateful to do it. It was a calling I had since a kid, so I was glad to have navigated that chapter of my life. But yeah, I started as a peer mentor, but also received services while I was there. Not my original intent, but just by being there, I was able to experience all of the life-changing services that ClearPath offers.
Yeah, that's great. We're definitely gonna get into it.
Sound check. Check 1, check 2.
This part of the recording, we're gonna reveal a song that captures your nature, your spirit. Are you ready? I'm not sure you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, so we're going back to 1973 here. All right? We'll see if you can get it. It's on the Inner Vision album by Stevie Wonder.
Okay.
Feeling good so
I'll do
far?
my best.
Okay.
Yeah.
This song was then re-recorded in 1989 by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Anything? Okay.
Not yet.
Well, the song is Higher Ground. Okay. So that was originally put out by Stevie Wonder and then re-recorded by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And I have to tell you, I think the work that you're doing at ClearPath, your background, your story, I think Higher Ground really exemplifies kind of your personality and your spirit and kind of everything that you've been through. So that's my interpretation. But I gotta tell you, did I get that, or is that way off base?
I've got to listen to the song.
What?
I probably got to read the lyrics too.
Okay.
I haven't heard it.
All right, then you know what? We're going to be sending that to you after this podcast. So we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to go to mic check.
You're good to go. Check's good.
This is really going to be talking about your current work, and if you had to describe ClearPath to someone who had no idea what it is, how would you do that?
More than just a resource and more than just a place. It's a community to welcome veteran homes and to form a protective circle around them as they endure through their transition and face the unique challenges, whatever they are, to walk shoulder to shoulder with veterans and help them get to where they're going in life and realize their potential.
Now, I've been to the facility, but I would love to just maybe create a visual of the space when you walk in. I mean, it is an incredibly beautiful space. Maybe you could put some perspective around that for people who aren't familiar with it.
It's impossible. I got to be honest with you. I'm asked this question often, and there is no truer way to experience ClearPath than actually attending the facility. That would be true of my first experience there, walking in as a candidate to go through an interview for a staff position. It just blows you away. I mean, you walk into the facility, it's built like a lodge, it's non-institutional. It's not like you're going into a downtown facility in a concrete jungle. It sits on 78 acres in the middle of rural New York. And as soon as you enter the great room, you get to see all of Oneida Lake, which is one of the Finger Lakes in central New York. And the view is just incredible. I would say that in and of itself is just one of the healing aspects of what ClearPath provides.
Yeah. And for a person who's been there, it is pretty breathtaking the minute you walk in. It really is. So I'm going to spare you the one sentence description of what you do unless you want to go there.
It's a lot to unpack, but I'm trusted to lead this organization that transformed my life. That's the best way to put it. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing had I not firsthand experienced the life-changing transformation through the canine program at ClearPath. And so, there's a lot in one sentence. It would be hard for me to describe, but we're a nonprofit.
Ryan, it's good because you're well beyond a sentence. So that's helpful.
All right, Jim, let's lay down track one to get that backstory.
Let's do it.
Let's start out really simple. Where'd you grow up?
Fabius, New York. Grew up. It's hard to say I grew up in Fabius, New York. That's where I was born, but I was raised.
So let's put that in context for anyone who doesn't know.
Coast.
So Fabius would be how far from ClearPath and how far from Syracuse?
20 minutes. About 20 minutes from both Syracuse and ClearPath, different directions.
Perfect.
Grew up in Fabius, farm country, and before I was even the age of 10, we moved to Virginia. So I hopped around a lot, and I tell people often that I believe wholeheartedly that shaped the person that I am today. I tell people that it's hard to find community when you're constantly bouncing around from place to place, and that was certainly part of my story.
So what brought the family to Virginia?
Nothing in particular, just a career change.
Interesting. Okay.
I would say, I was raised by my mother, single mother, raised my brother and I, and a later sister. And there was a divorce at a young age, and I think that prompted a change for my mother, and she wanted to get out of town, and that was the choice she made, and took us along with her.
Then you were 10 when that happened?
Actually, I was about 8 years old.
Okay. So tough to probably acclimate from a kid from New York going to Virginia. That's a whole different world a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, my brother and I we had each other's backs growing up. So that was certainly a good support system for me. And, we figured it out. So for sure.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate that childhood?
Well, it would be hard to scale it or rate it. I wouldn't be who I am today had I not experienced the life that I lived growing up, for sure. Right. It was never easy. If you would have asked me back then in the early years, or even as I was growing up in the teenage years, if I'd ever be doing what I'd be doing now, the answer would 110% be no.
Okay, perfect.
I would never.
Perfect. You know what that does?
Yeah.
That is the next question. So, what is Ryan thinking about in the teenage years? What's driving you? What are you curious about?
Certainly wasn't school. So school was not my favorite, especially moving around from district to district. It was really hard for me to establish roots, and I was not a great student. The teachers always said it's not for lack of intelligence, it's just lack of desire or motivation. I wasn't a bad kid. I didn't misbehave or anything like that. I just was quiet, kind of reserved, and really there was no drive for me to want to do the things that school was teaching me at the time. My motivation growing up was 110% warrior culture, the military. I really grew an affinity for the old Vietnam movies, anything that just showed the characterization of a hero, somebody navigating a difficult journey across an adventure. That quickly became kind of my pseudo life, something that I really wanted to aspire to be, and what really drove me to joining the military once I graduated high school.
Interesting. So how did that come about? Just naturally, or was there an influence?
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, being constantly shuffled around and never being rooted anywhere, it strongly influenced my desire to be in a brotherhood and a fraternity, and something that kind of stood the test of time. It was really difficult for me to build friendships and relationships and find social networks. I was just never anywhere for any length of time that I was able to do that. And so when I saw this, military culture on TV, which really is a terrible representation of what it's actually like, I just really grew connected to that. And to be honest, the other part too, I was a shy kid. I didn't really want to break out of my shell. It was very difficult for me. I lacked confidence. And then seeing the military and these characters in these movies, it's like, well, they're strong. They have confidence. They're willing to go to war for their country. something to fight for. I definitely grew up with a strong element of patriotism. I always loved my country. And so, seeing some of these old war movies and the things that they fought for, I just really grew an affinity for that. And then, of course, 9/11 happens, and I'm a freshman in high school. And that just pushed me even further down this road of wanting to join the military.
That's great context. Is there anything or anybody who you could point to that was an influence growing up?
No, to be honest with you.
You're running solo.
This is part of my story is I just never had a consistent male role model in my life to help bring me up through the ranks. And that's a hard thing because you do feel isolated. And you figure it out, right? And I did that through small friend groups that I had established through the years, but ultimately it was almost like an idol, right? Like the military became something that I wanted to do so bad that was it. The military became my father. Like really, to be honest with you, that was how I looked at it then, and certainly how I look at it now, just kind of growing up in those formative years. That idea became my mentor.
So how old are you now? You joined when you are...
Joined when I was 17. Okay. I'm 38 now.
Okay. 38? You look like you're 28. Now I look like I'm 88.
Yeah.
What's going on? So you're 17. I mean, that's a year. It's almost my son's age. I worry about him putting something in the microwave.
Yeah.
So tell me about that.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like when you really think about something hard enough and you mentally prepare yourself for that, it really does set you up for the experience as it was meant to be, right? Like I tell people often before I got a motorcycle, I read all these books. I wanted to get a motorcycle so bad. And in my head, I just kept imagining what that would be like. Actually, after my second deployment to Iraq, I bought this motorcycle and I got on it and it felt like I've been riding my whole life.
Interesting.
So, I would say the military wasn't exactly like that, but it is certainly like I prepared, right? Like I did not have any desire or motivation for school, but I was studying the rank system in the military, the naval rank system, the Marine Corps rank system. I was reading history. I knew all the major battles. I knew my general orders before I went to boot camp. So my headspace was just full of it. I really, really wanted to do this. So at 17, when I had the chance to enlist, I was still in high school. I was a junior, just going into my senior year. I had to have my mother sign the enlistment papers, but that was a year before I actually went to boot camp, right? Because I enlisted at 17, finished my time in high school, and then I was off to boot camp. That entire year, I was at the recruiting station 3 days a week, PTing, physical training, working with the recruiters, helping with recruiting and getting other people to enlist in the military. And it just became something that for my entire life that I had nothing that I was connected to, that I finally had something to tether myself to. So that's how I got there for sure.
Yeah, I would. So this brings you to what, your mid to late 20s, somewhere in that neighborhood?
I served I did 4 years, so 18 to 22. Okay. I turned 21 in my second deployment to Iraq, and my first deployment, I just turned 19. So yeah, looking back on this now, I see 18, 17 through 19-year-old kids, and I put them in the shoes that I wore in country, in the theater of war, and I'm like, there's just no way. I couldn't imagine putting some of these kids through something like that. But I never looked at myself like that, right? Because I trained for it. I signed up to be in the infantry, so I was joining the Marine Corps in 2005 at the height of our Operation Iraqi Freedom, enlisting in the infantry. So I knew full well, at least I thought I did, what I was getting myself into. And, I just kind of wired my brain to be prepared for what lied ahead. I was prepared to die for my country. At least I thought I was. And I navigated that entire experience the weight of it, to be honest with you, really, it took a decade for me to wrestle with what that experience was and how to grieve and all of the things that I had wrestled with really didn't start to come to the surface until I was out of the military service for a long time.
What do you do from the period of time that you're kind of wrestling with some of this until you find ClearPath and some of the programming?
You go into a reflexive state, right? You just survive. And I had horrible coping mechanisms. I struggled with alcohol. I stayed out late. I was a 22-year-old kid that just survived 2 deployments to Iraq, and I got out. And to be honest, I was not. I mean, it took a lot for me to leave that experience and feel like a red-blooded patriot, because the work that we did, the fighting for the country, the idea that I had was we were attacked, and I was over there to defend our country. And to be honest, it's a lot to wrestle with. And after losing 14 of my friends on my first deployment, you come home from that. It's such a formative stage of your life, and you ask questions like, what was that all about? Yeah. What were we even actually doing there? I have to think that we were there for the right reasons. We were doing a specific job. We had a specific mission. But, getting out of the military, they don't do a great job preparing you for that, right? To be honest, I didn't experience life on the outside as an adult, right? None of us do. So you go through these 4 years. A lot of people go to college or they're out in the world, but we're 4 years immersed into the military culture, war, and all this. And then you kind of come out the other side, and they're like, well, here's 3 days of training on what it is to be a civilian. They call it TAPS, Transition Assistance Program. And it doesn't check any of the boxes of what real life is actually going to be like. You get your benefits, go to college, get a job, and, you quickly learn that it's not just that simple. It all depends on so many things that are outside of your control.
How do you find your way to ClearPath then?
So I didn't find ClearPath until 2016. I got out in 2009, and I'd gone to college, and I studied to be a police officer. I went for criminal justice, thinking that was the only translatable skill that I developed in the military. They weren't hiring at the time, and it just didn't work out, right? I got an associate's degree, and it's like, well, I have to shift gears. If I can't be a cop, what else can I do? I went to school for forestry because I had an affinity for nature. I just figured that was the next best thing. Maybe I could get into environmental conservation. And I went to a college up here in Syracuse called the Environmental College of Science and Forestry, ESF. And I graduated with a 4-year degree in natural resources management. But the job I landed was as an arborist, right? I ended up climbing trees and cutting them down and trimming them and doing all of the arboriculture work. Small teams, extremely hard work, right? And I did that for almost 6 years. And
was that
an incredible experience? No. And I say that because it is hard work, right? And 10-hour days, 12-hour days. A lot of the times we were out of town just because of the winter weather up here in central New York. They would ship us out of town or you get laid off, kind of thing. But you worked hard and you played hard, and those two things were not healthy for the lifestyle that I was already living, to be honest with you. And what was next after that, right? Was I going to be a tree climber for the next 20 years? And I did not have a positive outlook on any career potential for that. A friend of mine was working at ClearPath, and he was running the employment program. And I was living in the southern tier of New York at the time. And he called me and he said, hey, look, we're looking for a veteran that has navigated from military to civilian culture to work with other veterans and help them face those unique challenges and walk shoulder to shoulder with them. And, it's meaningful work. We will set you up with a vehicle. You drive around, you meet with these veterans, you help them out. And I was like, that sounds like a really great change of pace from what I'm doing right now. So I interviewed, and it was a terrible interview. I didn't think I was going to get the job. I was introduced to the founder, Melissa Spicer, and I was wearing I was wearing my gear. I had mud from like head to toe. I looked like crap, to be honest with you. Like I really just went through the ringer. And I come in this beautiful campus and I'm being introduced to the founder of this place along with some of the executive leadership. And I'm like looking at my friend like, really? You could have like warned me that you're going to introduce me to... And so, but they just embraced me. And it's the first time after being out of the military for as long as I have that I felt like I was back within a tribe that understood me.
That's great.
And that's when I knew like this was a really important crossroads and where I could find meaningful work and make some significant changes, not only in my own life, but in the life of other veterans.
Track 2, Sound of Now.
You have competition? Do you see it as competition with other nonprofits in the same space?
There's 50,000 other nonprofits that are doing work for veterans across the nation right now. There are only 4 organizations in New York State that are accredited by Assistance Dogs International, providing service dogs in the way that we do them. 3 of those are down in the city, and we're the only one in Central New York providing holistic support for veterans and their families. So we provide the service dogs and we provide wraparound support as well. When I think about the competitive landscape of nonprofits, it's not something that often prompts me to think, we need to be careful about next door and what they're doing. The question always comes to mind when I think about the other nonprofit that is doing what we're doing is how can we collaborate and be a community and work together to resolve some of these challenging issues that veterans are facing in the landscape. So I don't see there being a lot of competition in the space that I'm working in, to be honest with you. There are times when we're looking at some of the same funding opportunities and the same grants and things like that, but it's not a violent business world to be in, I would say. I mean, we're pretty collaborative. It's a great space to be in. There's a lot of partners across, Central New York that are willing to come alongside us and help us meet our mission. So, and ClearPath is just very unique. And I said this not long ago, is that we're not there to duplicate services. If there's another organization that's doing something similar to what we're doing and they're doing it a lot better, then that's just one less thing that we got to put on our menu. We specialize in very specific things that we've been doing for the last 15 years, and we do them really well. And we're very careful about what we're going to add into that list, especially if somebody else is doing it in the community.
What happens behind the scenes that the public just doesn't know?
It's a struggle. Behind the scenes at ClearPath, while it's a non-competitive space, there are a lot of things that are outside of your control in the nonprofit world, and funding is one of them, right? So I'll tell you, most recently, we were just notified that one of our major grants is not being renewed for the year of 2026. And that can shake the organization up, right? Like, it's a major source of funding. It was a federal grant for a service dog program, right? That was congressionally awarded. And this next coming year, calendar year 26, they said, well, we're actually not going to be renewing this program. It's something completely outside of the control of us. And you just have to be able to endure through that. Like, what do you do, right? In the nonprofit world, you're constantly challenged by the state of the economy. I stay out of politics as much as possible because it really doesn't do any good for me. But it's building a community of those that are aligned with your mission to continue to support what you do. And that it's not hard for me because of my upbringing, right? You talked about these tracks of life, and had I not gone through what I've gone through, experienced the things that I've experienced, and actually was a recipient of services at ClearPath, I would say I wouldn't be qualified for this job.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
It's just been incredible. For the longest time, I would say I would disqualify myself. And someone once told me, like, well, we qualify the unqualified. And that's what makes it so special. To bring you into this space for the story that you have navigated and to be where you are right now, you are exactly the right person to be doing this work. sometimes, I mean, it can be very emotional to go out there and share your story, and to the point where it brings me straight to tears. But people, they can relate to that. They can relate to the struggle and everything that, behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. It's hard, but it's necessary. So
it's a great another segue. Is there anything that you've learned later that you wish someone had told you before?
Yeah, I would say, the military taught me a lot about embracing struggle, for sure. And that it was always going to be hard. And it taught me the value of that, that usually that nothing good in life comes without going through some pressure or discomfort. Now, that's different when you're thrown out into the matrix or the real world and you start to face some of these unique challenges that become very difficult to understand or translate into, going through some very difficult physical activity in the military or training or what have you. What I wish I had been told early on would have been to be willing to be vulnerable and go ask for help. It took me a long time. It took me about a decade to actually accept the invitation of help, right? To actually say yes to, I want something better for myself, and that I can't actually do it on my own, because it really does take a village. It takes a community. I would say that in all spaces, not just mental health and veterans, but we weren't meant to be isolated, and it's just so critically important that no matter what you're doing, that you surround yourself with a community that wants better for you.
So in your experience, what do you think's more important, resilience or adaptability?
That's a great question. Resilience is really important, and that's often a piece of advice that I give to those that are coming up through the ranks at ClearPath, is to endure, right? To endure through these challenges. The resilience will bear fruit at some point, and you just have to be willing to stick it out. It's always it's hard to grow through anything if you just bail out, right? Like, what do we learn from throwing up the flag and jumping ship? I know there is a time and place for that, but equally, though, the Marine Corps teaches you improvise, adapt, overcome. Adaptability is critically important. I kind of would say I'd give equal measure to both.
That's not fair. This is like
I know it's not.
That's all right. That's okay.
I know. Resilience may be 1% higher than adaptability, but to be adaptable, it's just I had to be adaptable. That goes from my childhood experiences to leading up to where I'm at now. I mean, I started at ClearPath as a peer mentor, became a dog trainer, then a program director, and I was constantly bouncing around between these jobs that I had never done before. I didn't join ClearPath as a dog trainer. I had to learn how to be a dog trainer. I had to go to a professional training school to learn those skills and the tips, the tricks of the trade in order to do that work. And had I not been, pliable enough to go through that, if I just made an agreement and said, well, I went to school for natural resources management, why am I going to try to be a stinking dog trainer? If there's something that you have a passion for, an affinity for, and you want to get after it, like, don't let anything get in your way. Adapt to the situation and navigate through it. And that takes resilience too.
So I'm gonna
that's a hard one.
Ask this too. Is there anything that you do to cultivate those?
100%. Every day, right? I mean, there's a element of discipline and consistency that I have to maintain within my life, probably to a fault, of routine, right? Like, I wake up and I do the same thing almost every day. I fill myself mentally, physically, and spiritually almost every day of my life, and I have a routine in which I navigate. And
you can't gloss over that. This is the good stuff. So tell us the routine.
I will. It won't be for everybody. Some circumstances within my life.
Your first one was mental. So let's go through the list. You had 3 of them, so let's go to the first one.
I read this book years ago. It was called Own the Day, Own Your Life by Aubrey Marcus. And it was built around a 24-hour day and what to do within those 24 hours. And that was like step one for me to start to tap into my own self-help transformation, I guess is the best way to put it. And he talked about mindfulness and mindfulness. And mindfulness is filling your mind with things that are helpful, right? Like, what books are you reading? What podcast are you listening to? Control your inputs. And you end up becoming a product of what you fill yourself with, right? So I started to curate all of that, right? Like, what am I listening to on my way to work? Is it a fictional novel that has nothing to do with my life experience? There could be importance to finding time to just tap out and listen to some of that stuff. But no, it was things that are relevant to growth and, the place I found myself at the current time. So that includes reading too. The types of books that you're going to read. One of these books that I read early on that was really transformational for me was 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson. That was a really good book. Helped me navigate some difficult circumstances and shape just how I would go about my day, right? I mean, really incredible book. So filling your mind, I mean, there's something you can do each and every day to fill your mind. Me in particular, I usually am reading some book and I start with that every morning. Now, so when I wake up, it's usually before the sun comes up, usually. And I don't always go for the coffee. I will probably drink some water or some electrolytes. And again, this comes from a couple books that I read. I do read the Bible every day. I read a little bit of scripture. I read a book that is helpful in the sense of where I'm at in my life. It could be spiritual. It could be self-help. It could be just something to exercise my mental capacity. So I do a little bit of both. And I also journal. So journaling is one of the harder things. I'll be honest with you. It's not like a daily discipline that I do every single day, but there isn't a day that goes by that when I do journal that I regret it. It's kind of one of those immediate reflections that I can have, and it jot down a quarter of a page or half a page of just what do I want today's experience to be like, and what do I want to carry with me is just a really great prompting for your day.
That's great.
Yeah. Nothing guided. Sometimes I do meditation, and I'm a big fan of physical activity. The Marine Corps taught me a lot about that, but I think it's really important to put your mind, your body, and your spirit through something that's going to build that capacity each and every day. And it's been great. It's been really, really amazing. I mean, for me personally, and I would say I'm not the only one preaching this these days. It's pretty much anything you listen to is going to tell you, what's your daily 5? What do you do? What are the things that you're doing each and every day to get 1% better?
Well, that's great. With all that discipline, do you ever deal with self-doubt?
I'm dealing with it right now.
On this podcast, yes. You're not.
Oh, I'm telling you, yes. And that's true of anybody, I would say. And it's something to be mindful of. I mean, I was, I'm not at war right now in the sense of, being in a war-torn country trying to fight terrorism. It's still a war every day I open my eyes. And that first battle I'm going to fight is the words that I say to myself. And there's always, every day, there's going to be some complex problem that you have to solve. And it doesn't always have to be solved in a single day. And I have to remind myself of that. My wife is a great advocate, and the people I work with, I'm just honored and grateful to work alongside a community of people that believe in me and believe in this mission, and you can be vulnerable, right? I think it's just really important to be vulnerable with yourself and others. So you don't always have to have your stuff together. Seasons, right? Like I talked about funding, and we're in a funding predicament right now, and it's going to be a complex problem to resolve. But I'm up for the challenge, and I have people to work alongside with that are going to fight this fight with me. So it's not something to be done alone, for sure.
Doesn't sound like self-doubt.
It's there, I promise.
Well, you're hiding it well. So I think I'm going to know the answer to this one, but is there anything about this industry or what you're doing right now that just drives you crazy?
Veterans often find their relative trauma on a scale, right? Like, so they compare themselves to others often.
Interesting.
And it creates this barrier to getting help. And that's a challenge, right? I see veterans all over the place.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, a lot of veterans don't feel like they deserve the services that we provide. Okay. They think somebody else has had it harder than them, and that they deserve it. And that's something that I struggled with, for sure. And I see it often. I see it in the workplace. I mean, half the staff at ClearPath are veterans, and we all need the services we provide, for sure. And that's completely fine. It's okay to need those services. And as a community, I think this is at large of something more than just veterans face, but the lack of vulnerability and unwillingness to just say, like, I need help, and I know you guys have a unique solution to that. Can I just give you a call or email you and start a dialogue to get going on this? That's always a challenge. I mean, that's probably more of a philosophical challenge than a tactical challenge. I mean, tactical challenges are just running the business. I mean, you got workplace culture, which is a huge priority for me, just making sure that everybody that is working at ClearPath is happy, that they have gainful employment, that they enjoy their jobs, that they have a reason to come to work, and they can go home knowing that they made a difference. That's not something that I always have to press, because it's just the work that we're doing inherently, but it is a challenge. I mean, just to ensure that we have 47 staff, 7 part-time, 40 full-time, making sure every one of them is coming to work happy, feeling valued, and then able to go home each and every day feeling really great about the work that they're doing.
Brian, under your leadership, where do you see ClearPath in the next 5 years?
We've been providing direct services for 15 years. And when I say direct, I mean like face-to-face, where if the veteran can't get to us, we're driving to them. We cover 33 counties across New York State, and our canine program places service dogs nationally, all across the country. We actually just adopted a new program in which we're helping active service members get into teaching jobs in the K through 12 school districts. And we're just cresting a moving into the digital space. This is new for us, and we're probably this something we probably should have done a lot sooner. However, we just felt that it was really important for us to maintain the integrity of what we do, to always be face to face. Literally walking shoulder
examples.
to shoulder.
What are you doing? More virtual, or?
Well, we're going to step into digitizing a lot of our programmatic content and making it available online to people across the country, so that we can broaden our reach, expand on the community of those we're serving. The reality is that while what we do is really important in the direct services landscape, not everybody can get to ClearPath between 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. They may be working.
So more of it on demand, anytime, anywhere. Yeah, right.
That's right. Yep. So we'll be getting into that space hopefully next year, and we're also expanding our campus as well. That's a big plan that we've had for a while now, but again, this is going to take a larger community, because it's a huge goal. We want to expand our campus and do a dedicated canine training facility. We have a space right now, but with 40 service dogs and training, a whole staff, it's getting tight. And we need a bigger footprint in order to do more. And the demand for service dogs is so high. I mean, even though we have wound down the conflict in the Middle East, there are veterans that are still coming to us that are suffering from trauma that they experienced in the Vietnam War. we don't expect this to go away anytime soon. Veterans are going to be facing mental health issues and traumatic brain injury forever. I mean, it's the landscape isn't changing. And so we just want to be able to be that premier service dog provider, not just in New York State, but beyond. Again, non-competitive, it takes a community, and there are other great service dog providers out there. But for us to be able to provide not just the service dog, all of the other wraparound support that we provide, I think that's very special. Any given year, we'll have between 12 to 15 service dogs graduated nationally. It takes 2 years to train every dog. And we could triple that if we had a larger facility. And that's the plan. So within 5 years, I think that's an attainable goal. It's a expensive goal for sure. Construction's not cheap these days. And in order to raise the funding for this program, we're looking at probably close to $16 to $18 million.
Do we have a capital campaign for that, or how are you going to address that?
That is the plan. Yeah. So we're looking to launch a capital campaign. We'll go through a silent phase for a period of time. Really just reaching out to people that have been connected to ClearPath for a long time, provide naming rights to the building, including all of the different facilities. It's going to be a fully developed vet facility, aqua therapy, 3 training rooms, a puppy enrichment area, 30 kennels, an exterior kennel, just a real state-of-the-art facility that's dog-centric and
my next question was going to be, what's your next big thing? But I think you just told me.
That's the big thing. That's the big thing.
So with the military background, has that influenced how you approach risk?
Yes. And risk is healthy, but having a plan is something that the military has taught me a lot about. Like, expect, there's a acronym called MPCOA, which is enemy's most probable course of action. And that's planning for a circumstance to happen, right? Like, it's risk management. And that's something that has carried with me for a very long time, but it's also having contingency planning in place in case A, B, or C happens. And I would say I'm not risk averse. I'm not opposed to it. I think for us to be able to push the envelope and continue to do the work that we're doing and level up every year, you have to be willing to take risk. So stepping into the unknown is just a place that we have to be comfortable with. The military has taught me a lot about that for sure, and sometimes not always for the better. But yes, I would say, I learned a lot about taking risk, and I'm not afraid of them in the civilian world.
I would imagine it's probably seems a lot less in the civilian world in comparison.
Well, I'm not getting shot at these days, which is nice. So,
a day that goes by, that's a plus. I would imagine that's a plus.
It is a plus.
If you think back, is there any piece of advice that you've received that if you went to that person now, they'd have no idea what you're talking about?
Another thing I was taught in the military is expect the worst and you'll never be disappointed. That is not a great outlook on life. It took me a long time to shed that, to stop living my life like that. Unfortunately, the person that told me that is no longer alive. He took his own life. This is somebody that I served with, happened to be one of my team leader early on in the Marine Corps. But that's something that stuck with me for a very, very long time, was just expect the worst and you'll never be disappointed. What does that leave you with, right? Like, you're just constantly thinking about how every day is going to be a suck fest. Yeah. And honestly, that's been within the last 3 years, something that I started to transform, to be grateful for every moment, for every breath, for every piece of food that I eat, for everything, right? There's more to be grateful for, and expect good things, right? They may not always go as planned, but there's a pressing, and pressing bears fruit, right? There's there's a lot of writings and teachings on, hard times can bring about and great fruit and success and all of these wonderful things. And sometimes when it gets tough, I have to remind myself that, like, all right, we're going to go through some stuff, but on the other end of this, we're going to be so much better. We're going to have learned so much. We're going to have new, tactics, techniques, and procedures. We're going to have a new business model, whatever it is. Usually hard times, if you can endure through them and adapt, then usually you come out on the other end a lot better.
So how do you define success?
It's not about your status, for sure. I think success is relative, and it really should be based on being content with your circumstances, for one, right? Like, it's not always about what you're bringing in your bank account or what your house looks like or what, how you compare yourself to your neighbors. I think I would define success as having a value structure and sticking to it. And to be doing something that goes beyond your own circumstances and yourself, right? Like, selfless service to me is success. Like, to exist in this world in service of something greater than yourself.
I was going to ask you, but I'm going to answer it for you. I think the work that you're doing, the life that you've led, it's the definition of success. I really was looking forward to this because to endure and to press on and to continually evolve yourself is a remarkable thing, Ryan. It truly is.
Jim, this is really shaping up. Let's talk about liner notes.
So these are questions about downtime and fun. Who's the closest person to you, first name only?
Christina.
So if we ask Christina to describe your quirks and weird habits, what do you think they'd say?
Oh man. She would say that I tend to jump from hobby to hobby. I have a problem getting addicted to something and then going to the next thing.
Give an example.
For sure. Well, this last year I got into boxing, and just typical me. I couldn't put I was reading about boxing. I getting professional coaching. I was going to a gym and getting to a point where I was ready to get into some amateur fighting.
Okay.
But it could be a problem, right? Like, I'm 38. I've had my brain rocked quite a few times. I'm well outside of my prime for this kind of, these 22-year-old kids that box circles around me. But yeah, and I have had since I've started to ramp down boxing, and I'm picking up Muay Thai now. So Thai boxing, it's a little bit different. But yeah, she would say that I'm pretty quick to cling on to something and go full tilt on it until I burn myself out, and then I jump to the next thing.
So you've already said there's a lot of discipline in your life. I've got to believe you hit the reset button. How do you do that?
I would say taking time off, but it's rare that I do that. Actually, today is one of my days off. But spending time in nature is something that I should do more of. I really do enjoy getting out. I enjoy recreational sports, outdoor sports, hunting, fishing, and that kind of thing. So when the season is there, that's what I like to do, just to quiet my mind. I do practice meditation, and as far as resets go, that is not just something that I have to do that, right? Like, to manage the stress in my life, I have to intentionally pause. How are you doing that?
Are you using an app? Are you using music? What are you just quiet time?
A couple of years ago, I was brought into a neuro fitness program for brain health and veterans diagnosed with traumatic brain injury. And I was introduced to what heart rate variability was. And there was a program called Heart Math, and basically it measures your heart rate variability while you go through breathing exercises. You do it 3 times a day for about 5 to 10 minutes each time. And it's a game changer. I would recommend it to anybody. It helps you regulate your heart rate variability. And, the type of stress that we deal with each and every day is not the way we were biologically programmed. We're not running from saber-toothed tigers, but we're experiencing the same levels of cortisol and stress. So, I got into like cold plunging, and I did it for not a long time, and I didn't do it like some of these people do it, like they're breaking ice in the morning and jumping into these cold pools or whatever. I was just doing it in the shower, and I started reading this book about this guy named Wim Hof. And he's like the guy that was really started the cold plunge movement. And this is back to when I read this book, 24-hour, Own the Day, Own Your Life. I tried this in my shower, and you do this breathing technique while you do this cold plunge, right? And I got well water in the middle of winter. It can get pretty cold. I almost passed out. Like I almost blacked out in the shower, and I was like, you know what? I can tone the extreme down. Like I don't need to do this. And anyway, yeah, so
you're not cold plunging to zone out?
No, not these days. Not meditation works.
All right, I'll stick with that. Okay, dead or alive, who do you have lunch with?
I told you I'm a man of faith. So if I had the chance to have lunch with anybody, dead or alive, it would be Jesus Christ, 100%. Okay. Right? Like that, for me.
No, you can't. Top that. And you just went straight to the top. You didn't even pass go. You just went right there. But here's the next question. Yeah. Who pays?
Oh.
I don't see you passing the check to Jesus. I just don't see you doing that. I don't think you could do that.
No, I don't think I could do that. No. I feel like the blessings I have received in this life have given me the means to pay for lunch, and I would be glad to do that. There'd be no greater honor.
I got it. Oh, that's good. That's good. If it's a book, which is the one you would gift to the most people?
I guess it depends on the audience, but Gates of Fire by Stephen Pressfield is an incredible book, and it's about the Spartans and the Battle of Thermopylae. It's just an incredible book. It's a coming of age book, and it takes a kid that was nothing, and he becomes one among the ranks of the 300 Spartans that fought the Persians at Thermopylae. And it's an incredible book. There's a lot of life lessons in there. You can learn a lot if you read between the lines in that book, and it does. It kind of puts things into a relative space. It's just a great book. I've read it probably 5 or 6 times. I'll give you another one because you're well read. I'll let you do another one. I want to hear another one. Okay. I mentioned 12 Rules of Life by Jordan Peterson. Great book. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Wild at Heart by Jordan Eldridge. It's a really good book. It's spiritual. So, it's certainly not for everybody, but for a lot of the men that I've walked alongside, it's been a life-changing book, especially a lot of the veterans that have navigated some of these invisible wounds of war. Really, really, really good
Okay,
book.
Let's move to movie, because you talked a lot about influences of these movies, and I think I listened to a couple of their podcasts that you had been on, and some of the movies didn't necessarily equate to the experience. I recall you saying, but if you had to pick a movie that you think everyone should see,
Goodfellas. Because it's an incredible movie. I'm reading the book right now, actually, Wise Guys. I know it's kind of not serious, but there are times to detach, and it sometimes
if I had to, I was sitting there thinking a couple things in my head, and I got to tell you, Goodfellas was not at the top of the list, but I think that's fantastic.
It's a great book, a great movie. It's just one of the classics, and that is one of the movies that I grew up watching. Had nothing to do with the military. I did reading the book though. I did find out Henry Hill, the Ray Liotta's the actor in the movie, played Henry Hill, mob guy. He actually was in the army.
Really?
It didn't portray that in the movie, but yeah, he was. I don't remember what he did. I think he signed up to be a paratrooper or something like that, but ended up doing something different. It's a great movie. No other reason. I don't think anybody should aspire to be in the criminal underworld by any stretch of the way. There are a lot of great war movies.
From Ryan. Don't be in the underworld.
Yeah. A lot of great war movies out there, and some of them are more real than others. American Sniper is one of those really good, pretty accurate movies about Chris Kyle and some of the conflict over there in the Middle East. That's a really, really good movie. Clint Eastwood directed. There's a lot of good ones out there.
I'll leave it at that, though.
All right, Jim, this is gold. What do you think about a bonus track?
Want to finish up with a bonus track? All right.
I'm in.
So we opened up this episode, and I said it was Higher Ground, which you did not know what it was. And now I'm going to have to send you both those albums, both Stevie Wonder and the Red Hot Chili Peppers from Mother's Milk. I'm going to have to do both of those for you. But now it's time to think about a song that represents you right now in this moment. Ryan, what is that song?
Zach Williams comes to mind, The Struggle, and it does resonate with me, but it does tie to my faith and my spiritual walk for sure, and the hard times that I had experienced post-military and even my whole life. That song just really resonates with me. There was a point at which in my life where I was willing to take that road and walk the narrow path and everything started to come together. So that talks a little bit about that. And there's another one called Gratitude by Brandon Lake. That just is a very meaningful track for me, and just the sense of being grateful for all of it, all of the hard times and the good times and the indifferent. Every moment is a moment to just reflect and be grateful.
Well, the second one, you pulled an audible on me because I didn't know that one. But the first one, Zach Williams, is off his second album called Rescue Story, if I'm not mistaken. That was released in 2019. I think both of those are great choices, and I think they really do encapsulate you, Ryan. And I think this one really adds and is a perfect closing to this story. So, Ryan, I just want to say again, thank you for your service. Thank you for being on the inaugural podcast. This is The Sound of Success. This is your story, your voice, and your album.
Thank you, Jim. My pleasure.